recording on Friday, June the 29th, 2001. I have come to Kington Mead Farm near Thornbury to meet Mr. Roger Staley. The foot and mouth epidemic, which spread through much of Britain's countryside earlier this year, very seriously affected this farm. Now, Roger, how long have your family been associated with this particular farm? How long does it go back?
Well, my great-grandfather, who was born in Yate in 1832, originally went to the Midlands in the pottery business.
And his name was?
Joseph Staley. But due to ill health, he returned from the Midlands and came to Thornbury and rented Kington Mead Farm, which has 150 acres from the Thornbury Castle Estate in the year 1860.
He had children to carry on this business?
Well, he married in 1861 and had 14 children.
14.
That was rather a lot, but fortunately the farmhouse had been made bigger in 1852 when 7 bedrooms were available, so he was able to easily fill them.
And who followed Joseph Staley?
Well, his name was Lee Staley, and he was actually born in the farm here in 1866. He was the eldest son of Joseph Staley. He actually started farming at Brook Farm in Titherington, where he had 3 sons, Howard, Herbert and Gerald. Gerald, in fact, was my father. He moved into Kington Mead Farm in 1904 when his father retired to Wellfield, which is a house in Kington Lane.
Yes, and what sort of rent was he paying then?
Well, he paid £318 per year, which is the equivalent of just about £2 an acre.
Let's bring back those days.
Yes.
And then what about Lee Staley after that?
Well, unfortunately, Lee Staley died in 1921. In fact, just before that, he bought Kington Mead Farm from the Castle Estate in 1922. His sons were able to take over from him, which were Howard and Gerald. Just about that time, he lost his wife as well, and one of his sons, Herbert. And so it was left for my father and my uncle to farm at Kington Mead Farm.
And your father was born when?
He was actually born in Titherington, but moved here in 1904 when his father took over.
Right. And he married, obviously?
Yes, my father, Gerald, married in 1902 to Vera Bull, who was a local girl. They traded then with their mother for several years.
And then we come to yourself.
Yes, I was actually born in 1933, and I have I have 3 children.
And you have brothers?
Yes, I've got 2 brothers, John and Robert, and a sister whose name is Carol. She married a local farmer, and they live in Ulverston.
And your brothers are farmers also?
No, they didn't take to farming, and they did other things. My brother John went as a gamekeeper, and my brother Robert went to France as a school teacher.
Oh, I see. And then you married, and was your wife a farmer's daughter by any chance?
Yes, I married in 1960 a local farmer's daughter named Hazel Gray, and she lived at Sibland, just the other side of Thornbury. When we married in 1960, I took over the farm from my uncle and father, who retired.
And What about your own children, yours and Hazel's?
Well, I had two boys and a girl. Both my sons are farming with me, David and Jonathan, and we farm now because we're able to get a little extra land, and we farm about 240 acres, and we trade as R.L. Staley and Sons.
And are you retired yet?
I'm semi-retired. In fact, I do what I'm told to by the boys, and they're quite happy with that.
Yes. And are your children married?
Yes, David married Heather King from Severn Beach, and they have two children, Lucy and Daniel.
Jonathan?
Jonathan married Heather Cross from Crummell, and she was a farmer's daughter. In fact, he kept mushrooms, and they have two children, Lydia and Ross.
And what about Helen?
Well, Helen married Peter Gossage from Bristol. He wasn't involved with farming, actually works for the BBC, and they're now living at Frampton Cottrell and have two daughters, Anna and Sarah.
And so Daniel and Ross then could be the inheritors of Kington Mead, or
Well,
a long line of people?
well, they would be the sixth generation to farm at Kington Mead Farm if they take to farming.
Yes.
But early days yet.
Right. And what sort of farm is it?
Well, originally, when I married first, we had a dairy herd, and when it came to the push, I wasn't too good at getting up in the morning, perhaps. 5 o'clock, I didn't think I wanted to get up all my life. So we sold the dairy herd when it became apparent that I either had to extend it or improve it. We built in a cow shed,
Yes.
and we either had to have a parlour, so I gave up milking and went to arable and kept beef cattle, pigs and poultry.
Right. But now you're known as a pig farm.
Yes, when my boys left school, we gave them the option of what they would like to do, take in the direction of poultry, beef or pigs, and they decided that they would like to have an intensive pig unit. So we sold the cattle and we sold all the poultry. We had a unit of 7,000 hens and a packing station. They didn't take to that, so we specialised in pigs.
Right. You say when they left school, did your families go to school locally?
Yes, they went to the local school, Manor Brook, and then they went to the castle school.
And what about yourself and Hazel?
Well, Hazel went to the old grammar school,
Yes.
which used to be there. I started school at the St Mary's. I remember going up there and walking across the fields, and we had a fire, a coal fire, to sit round for lunch.
Yes.
And so I don't think there would have been too many people in the school to do that then.
Yes, yes, yes. And did you enjoy school days?
I'm not particularly academic, and I was always glad to get back on the farm.
And you always intended farming?
Farming is in my blood.
Yes.
My parents, both sides, were farmers, and going back several generations, so it was,
Yes.
I'm born a farmer, as they say.
Would you have been surprised, disappointed if your sons had not continued in the farming?
I think basically we would, but they naturally fell into it. I think
Yes,
it was in their blood as
that's
well.
what they wanted to do. And what about their children? Can you see them being farmers in the future?
Well, I think the whole farming industry has taken a dive in the last few years, and I think both the parents feel that if the children wanted to do something else, they would be quite happy
Yes.
for them to do it. But we will see as the years go by.
Yes. Now, as we said in the introduction, the reason for coming to talk to you was about the devastating effects of the foot and mouth epidemic. What happened here, Roger?
Well, it was very dramatic in one sense. As soon as the foot and mouth break occurred up in the north of England, we had a suspected case. In fact, the vet was very conscious that foot and mouth was about, and we had a suspect case, but it was eventually clear. That was in February. But in March, there was a local outbreak at Ivor Stafford's farm at Cow Hill, which was only a mile or so as the crow flies. This was a confirmed case, and so we were on red alert, as it were, for about 10 days. Eventually, we were told we had clinical foot and mouth disease, and this was on the 31st of March.
Yes, and I know it's a silly question. How did you feel when you knew that that was confirmed?
Well, we were absolutely shattered because often you think it's somebody else who will have it, and when it actually hits you, it was a tremendous shock for myself and my boys, and of course the family and the community as well, that we were struck by this terrible disease.
And how many animals were in fact under your care on that day?
Well, on that day we had 4,600, just over, pigs on the unit.
Which meant that they were all condemned?
Yes, they were all condemned. We had a vet in who condemned them, and within a very short time we had people appearing on the scene to set in motion how they should be killed. In fact, 2 hours after the vet had run Gloucester to tell them up there, the police closed the road. 4 army personnel appeared within 2 hours. Somebody came to survey the farm, and before we knew where we were, a 13-man slaughter team plus 6 other helpers reported for action to kill the pigs.
This must have been something like an invasion of your property.
It was.
That you had no control over.
Yes, we were completely taken over by people that we didn't know. It was very difficult to come to terms with all this, because normally we live a quiet life in that sense, and to be invaded by so many people was quite an experience.
And were these under any kind of supervision from a veterinary service?
Well, we had 3 vets who arrived, one actually having come from America, who was observing foot and mouth. They supervised the whole killing operation, which actually started at 8 o'clock on a Saturday night and didn't finish till 9 o'clock the next morning.
4,600 animals slaughtered in one night.
Yes. The problem was that we decided, the boys, David and Jonathan and myself, that we would not witness the shooting, so we actually decided that we would go to bed. This was perhaps a cowardly thing, but we couldn't bear to think and see all our animals we so carefully looked after to be slaughtered.
Yes.
But we were kept awake all night by the noise of some of the sows being killed. A lot of them were didn't make a noise, but we heard the shot through the night.
And what about the men involved in the slaughter?
Well, this was an horrendous experience for many of them, because some of them had come from various places who were not used to shooting on such a big scale.
Yes.
And several of them in next morning were actually in tears, and they said the worst job they had ever done, and could not volunteer, and some of them were volunteers to go through such a procedure again.
And for some, this was the very first time they'd done this sort of thing?
Yes, of course, for some they had not done anything like this before.
And they weren't countrymen, perhaps?
Well, they were countrymen. Some of them belonged to a hunt.
Oh, I see.
And they were just used to killing the odd animal or so, you see.
Yes.
And to do such a big job as this was a big nightmare for them.
Yeah. And of course, after that, the carcasses needed to be disposed of.
This was a big bone of contention, I think, because we had told the army which were extremely good, that we wanted the animals taken away as soon as they were slaughtered to a place where they could be burned or buried.
Yes. Yes.
The army were very good and rung around Gloucestershire to find a burial place or a rendering place or a burning place, so that as soon as the animals were shot, they could be taken by sealed container. Unfortunately, this did not occur. One of the reasons was that we could not do it on the farm because it was so wet. We'd had the wettest winter and the land was absolutely saturated, and there was no way that they could dispose of them on the farm. They agreed, but unfortunately, due to health and safety, the environment and so forth, the army couldn't find anywhere to dispose of them that night, and so all the animals were piled up in a great big heap in the barn.
Did you witness it?
We witnessed it only from a distance. We couldn't bear to go and see the animals piled up, and they were piled high and warm, and you can imagine the state that they were in.
And so how was the matter dealt with if they couldn't be buried on your land?
Fortunately, one of our neighbours, Ivor Stafford, had foot and mouth with his castle, and the ministry agreed, and he agreed, that the animals could be taken round there and disposed of by burning, and so this was agreed, and the army and the vets agreed that this was the only thing that could happen to them.
This must have been absolutely shattering for Hazel and the women folk on the farm, as well as for new men.
Well, it was really, but they, bless them, really rose to the occasion. We actually had, during that week, probably 40 people or so helping with the disinfecting and the loading of the pigs and so forth, and they supplied for a whole week endless cups of tea, cakes and biscuits and so forth. It was quite a major operation going on here.
And who was actually, was there one man in charge?
Well, there was the man, a colonel of the regiment who were from the army who were seeing to it. He was in actual charge of it, as well as the vet for any service, which was based in Gloucester.
Yes. Supposing there had been all the facilities in place, anticipating this, would that have relieved the situation?
Unfortunately, as I gather, that the Ministry of Agriculture had no contingency plans at all for foot and mouth. They had it for other things, and so it got everybody on the wrong foot, if you like. So I blame no blame on the veterinary service or the army or whatever, because there were no real overall plans for anything on this scale.
So should this terrible thing happen again, are we going to be more able to deal with it?
I would think that the government has learned a lot of lessons through this, and such something happen like this again, we will be well prepared for it.
Is it likely to happen again, or is this it for 20, 50 years?
Well, the last outbreak we had in this country was in 1967, so that means that quite a few years have elapsed, and I think everybody perhaps grown a little complacent about the situation, and we're not really prepared.
Now, what about the buildings where all this happened? Have they had to be cleaned in any way?
As soon as the animals have been taken off and burnt, which incidentally took several days, and it was a week after the slaughter, before, just over a week before all the animals had been taken to the pyre to be burnt.
So they were stacked on your premises
for almost a week.
for nearly a week.
and you can imagine the smell,
Yes.
the effluent
Yes.
that came from them,
Mm.
and it was just an horrendous situation. And I do pay tribute to the men who actually had to deal with the animals in this state. And of course, this was happening nationwide.
Yes.
It was not just here.
Yes.
It was a whole phenomenon which was happening
That's
nationwide.
Right. That's right. And what about yourselves? Were you confined to the premises, or were you able to, go up to Thornbury shopping, go to church or go out to various meetings that you may be connected with?
They advised us that we were not to go anywhere for a fortnight at least.
Yes.
We had a separate access into the farmhouse other than into the farm.
Yeah.
So after almost 3 weeks, they said that it would be okay for us to mix in society as long as we didn't go onto any other farms.
Right.
We could go to church, or we could go to for shopping, and the children were allowed to go back to school.
Yeah, but your family are farmers, your relatives are farmers, your best friends are farmers, so you were cut off from them for some while.
In fact, we're still cut off.
Are you?
We don't feel it is advisable because we're still under a schedule that forbids us really to, or advises us not to go and mix with any other farmers. And in fact, other farmers would not want us. We don't feel, as we have had it, we would hate somebody else to pick up and put them out because we went on their farm.
Was there a sort of a bonding between farmers? People talk about, the wartime when people all rallied round. Was there something of that spirit among the farming community?
Well, I think in general, the farming community has been very supportive of one another, and I suppose I spent a huge amount of time on the phone to various farmers and to friends who were very, very supportive, and we used to ring each other up just as a supportive gesture. And so I do pay tribute to those who supported us.
Yes. What do you think about, it's probably an unfair question, about those who escaped, who did not have any disease or any problems?
Well, I think the whole country has suffered in one sense, because those farmers like us who were were slaughtered. Those who were not slaughtered have not been able to move their animals, and that has been a horrendous problem for many farmers who were in a certain range of an infected farm.
Were you in some ways caught up in that as well, in that in the early weeks you weren't able to move your animals, so you had more here to be slaughtered than you should have had?
Yes, that was true. We were in fact getting to saturation point ourselves, and in some small way we might say that we were better off. But when you look at it from a realistic point of view, we have lost our animals and we have lost our income. And when we are eventually cleansed and everybody moves out, we will have no income for a year or so until we get either restocked or we do something else.
Right. So, Roger, here we are 3 months after the fatal day when the herd had to be destroyed. What now? 3 months have gone by with all the problems you've indicated. Presumably it's nearly over.
Well, I'm afraid it's not nearly over. We've had 3 months of at least 12 people on the premises most days, except Sundays. They also come Saturday mornings. There is the ministry who in one way supervise it as well as the veterinary service. So we have 2 people who are in control in one sense. Then we have a foreman who looks after the men, and they come at 8 o'clock and quite often go home at 6 o'clock. So there's quite a workforce here all the time.
And what about the equipment they had to bring?
When the people had moved out from moving the pigs, we were surprised that how many people actually arrived with their equipment. For instance, there was 2 lorry loads full of equipment with power washers, portaloo, cabins, one for the people to eat in and one for them to change in. There was the toilet, there was the washroom, and as well as other equipment that they came over the time, such as rollers to roll, power washers. It seemed an endless sight with shovels and spades and disinfectant, clothes. All the men had to wear white overalls, which they put on new every morning, and they were disposable. So that was quite an expense in themselves. So we had 12 white angels, as it were, walking or running around the place for the last 3 months. In fact, a little incident, if you like, they were clearing out one of the pits, and one of the men fell in the slurry.
Gosh.
And so that came into force the health and safety.
Yeah.
So immediately a shower unit was ordered, a cabin with 4 showers in, and a generator to heat the water and so forth. Just that one little unit was costing £600 a week just to have it on site so that they could have a shower.
Yes. My goodness. And how much longer do you think this is going to go on? The cleansing side?
Well, I think we're probably going to be here for at least another 2 months.
2 months? But you had 3 months, another 2 now.
Well, if I can give you a little breakdown, if you like, 7 buildings are nearly completed.
Yeah.
5 buildings still await procedure plans of how to deal with them. That's giving quite a lot of thought. We've had people down from London. 3 men came down from London one day to view the premises and to see how best to deal with the premises. I think, to be fair, we're slightly different from a cattle unit or a sheep unit. We are an intensive pig unit, and we have a lot of pits and so forth, and buildings that are new and buildings that are old, and so it presents quite a big problem for them. So we have, as I said, 5 buildings actually nearing completion, 5 buildings still wanting to know what to do with them, 5 buildings that have actually been dismantled because they were, by all standards, not worth cleaning out. Another huge problem has been the slurry disposal, because we have a huge slurry problem here. The ministry actually shut us down for 1 week because they said we had to get a licence from the Department of Environment so that we could spread the slurry. Little incidences like that keep occurring.
So you've got another 2 months of these men on site.
Probably.
And then when they've gone and somebody's signed a piece of paper to say it's over, what then?
Well, the government have set up an advisory group to advise farmers who have foot and mouth what to do in the future. We've actually been to a meeting, David and I have been to a meeting in Gloucester, and it's been taken over, the advisors are by what they call a business link, and they will provide advisors to come onto the farm and advise us what to do in the future, whether it's possible to go back into pigs or any other diversification that we could do. In fact, I believe the government is trying to encourage farmers, in one sense, not to go back into farming, because farming, in the government's view, in my view as well, they are not encouraging.
But this must be difficult for men with farming in their blood and in their ancestry.
It's going to be very difficult, because all my life I've dealt with animals, and
your boys as well.
And my boys as well, not to deal with animals. To do some kind of diversification is going to be quite difficult for us.
Yes. Do you think any lessons will be changed now that we've got a change of government? Well, the same government in a way, but with a new outlook?
Well, when the new government came in, the new Labour government, the first thing they did was to disband the Ministry of Agricultural, Food and Fisheries, and set in place the Department of Environment, Food and Rural Affairs. Nick Brown, the previous Minister of Agriculture, the post has been disbanded, and this new DEFRA, they call it, will be taken over, has been taken over by Margaret Beckett, and she has got a very broad spectrum, if you like, for rural affairs.
And will this be to the advantage of farmers?
I think most farmers feel that it will be a disadvantage.
A disadvantage, yes. And so, how do you see your own family's future?
Well, it's very disturbing, not only for my family, but nationwide. The whole farming community has suffered within the last 5 years, basically, because we work in a global market now, and it's so easy to bring food from other countries, and in a sense, the government strategy is to have England as a tourist attraction in a park environment, rather than emphasise on the food situation. Personally, I think in 10 or 20 years' time this will be regretted. I've recently been able, fortunately, to have a holiday in Switzerland.
Oh, I see.
And that was quite an eye-opener to me. Hazel and I had been married 40 years, and we promised her that we would have a little holiday, and she wanted to go to Switzerland. And they certainly know how to deal with things perhaps better than we do. They still have small farms, and they make the country attractive for tourists.
Yes. Did you feel in any case you needed to get away from all this? Was that one of the reasons for going to a place like Switzerland, just to get away from this?
We felt it was essential.
Yes.
And both my boys are going to have holidays. In fact, Jonathan has just come back from holiday. It's so important, because we have been very frustrated in one sense with the whole thing. Just to get away and have a fresh environment, if you like, is good for us in every way.
But I mean, normally people going away for a week, fortnight, whatever, come back and there's home again, and you get on with what you have been getting on with for years. It didn't happen like that this time, did it?
Well,
home wasn't like it had been.
Well, we're having to. I say we have to look at it from a positive point of view. We have to be realistic. We have to say, well, that's the close of one chapter, and we must open another chapter. And I think, in one sense, there is something of a new challenge to us.
Yes. And you're a family that like challenges.
Well, I think
we like to square up to the world and do things.
I think that's true, and I think most farmers are like that.
Yeah. And what about compensation for all this, Roger? Because this is a very important aspect of it all.
Well, I think I must be honest, in the sense that when we had the slaughter, we got in a valuer who was an expert in valuation for pigs, and we had a very fair, I think, compensation package for all the animals. While the cleansing is going on, the ministry have actually employed my two sons and the worker who works for us.
Oh,
so we actually have a little income coming in
from their wages.
From their wages.
Oh, right. What sort of support have you had other than support from local farmers?
Well, from a personal point of view, my family and I have strong Christian faith, which is helping us to sustain us in this ordeal. The local churches during that period prayed for us and fellow farmers. The local MEP, the local MP, Stephen Webb, and the NFU, and many others sent us letters of cards and sympathy, which was very, very supportive for us.
And phone calls?
Yes, we had phone calls from as far away as America and Australia, where we knew people, and they'd seen about it or heard about it on the radio and on the television.
I heard that you had an email.
Yes, we actually had it from an email from a friend in Mongolia, where they were actually going through the same problem as us, only on a much higher scale, because
Yes.
they are nomadic people and
Yes.
depend upon cattle.
Yes.
They are herdsmen, and so foot and mouth was a major epidemic for them.
And was this their winter time?
Well, they'd all just suffered a drought out there, and they have severe winters as well, minus 40 degrees, which
Minus 40.
we know nothing about. And they were actually losing millions of cattle. Mongolia is a big country,
Yes,
and
yes.
it was a real... So strangely, I think in this country we can almost count our blessings when we have a political parties of each party and a government and other agencies which are doing their utmost to conquer the disease. We still have food to eat and a roof above our heads and a welfare system to look after us, and many other countries such as Mongolia don't have these privileges as we have.
Yes, but farmers are resourceful people anyway.
Farmers are a resourceful breed, and we will recover in one degree or other. It's very painful for us at this moment, but my prayer would be that all those affected in this crisis in agriculture, and I'm including tourism and all the other auxiliary industries that are attached to farming, would find strength and the resources to ride this storm and to come out of it, in a sense, victorious. And we can look back in perhaps a few years' time and say, yes, it was very difficult, but we will survive.
Well, it would be very interesting to come back to you in a year's time, 5 years' time, and see what's happening at Kington Mead Farm then. Thank you very much indeed, Roger, and it's given a real insight into what has happened here in this farm very, very recently. Thank you very much indeed.